Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining me on Behind the Art. Welcome. I know, I've been a huge fan of your channel, and to kind of finally get to interview you and pick your brain about your own artwork is a pleasure. I'm going to be completely honest. When I found your channel and I started watching it, I didn't know you were an actual artist. I thought you were just a random dude interviewing other artists, and so I felt really stupid. Like I found out like 2, 3 months ago that you're a very, very good, amazing artist, and I was like, holy shit! Like I feel like an idiot, but yeah, I'm glad that we kind of became friends online, and
Yeah.
I really love your work. I also really love your channel, and yeah, man, welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. And I mean, you're not the only person who's like not realized I'm an artist. I mean, I think a big thing about me is like I'm a fan first of like art and illustration, things that are in metal. Like that was definitely like an entry point, but like comic art and stuff like that. Uh I definitely still, even on a day-to-day basis, think of myself as like a fan and almost a collector as well as an artist, almost like to the same degree, like because I think about it just as much, and I'm totally obsessed with collecting shit, art books and original art and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I mean, yeah, you definitely come off as someone who's very just like humble. You respect artists in general. You have a lot of knowledge, and that's a good thing. I mean, the fact that I didn't know, like maybe that's a good thing, was because usually with social media now you kind of have to like advertise yourself 24/7 just to kind of get like people to kind of be interested in your stuff. But I really like that kind of mentality of just like yeah, I'm a humble dude and I like art and I love artists and blah blah blah. So but yeah, so when did it all begin? Like when did you start? I guess I can go back to like when you started making art or started drawing and all that stuff, and then we can kind of go into when you started doing kind of like, I guess, freelance stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Um, so I'd say, start out like a lot of people. I started as a kid. I had like a natural inclination to do it. The big thing for me was like drawing monsters, dinosaurs, stuff like that. I know a lot of kids, it's like, they're just thinking like boys for the most part, but it could be any kids, but they're either obsessed with trains or dinosaurs. And I didn't
yeah,
give a shit about trains, but dinosaurs I was completely obsessed with. So I
yeah,
draw
same.
them all over the place. And when I was a kid as well, we did these. It was like through the school district, but you had to basically create books. So as like a 5-year old, I ended up like getting really, really far in this like state competition for like book illustration. And like I'm just like a 5-year old writing about some like Pee-wee dinosaur who like tripped on a rock and shit. I was going through that with my mom just like a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of impressed with like, I don't know, just being a kid, and she definitely helped out in it, but just like actually creating something like start to finish, like these little books. But not to go on too much of a tangent, but basically art and drawing were always part of it. Creating like little worlds of monsters, definitely inspired by things like Pokemon and Digimon. Art was always something that was never about like high art and like doing anything with the art classes. I almost like avoided them because I just always want to do my own thing and kind of like learn it on my own. Which later down the road I think held me back, but it helped me at least like find out my own interests and really capitalize on them. And then just throughout high school and stuff, I got involved in bands and stuff, and I would do like the logos for the bands, kind of a DIY stuff. And then in terms of taking art seriously, I'd say that's probably like 2017, where I was like really intentional about wanting to get good and improve, and being deliberate instead of just drawing because I love to do it, which I still do to this day, obviously. But like, there's a difference between doing something really intentionally and then just doing it as a release. So I'd say that's kind of what my art journey looked like. I didn't go to art school. I've only taken one art class. Definitely very much like a self-guided learner. And then with the internet and YouTube, there's so many good like art teachers you can basically just learn from online that I've picked up things here and there.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, if I had YouTube growing up, it would be amazing. I mean, just the
Yeah.
fact that you can literally look up any kind of artist, any kind of video, how to do something like in an instant. And I mean, I still do that now, but just like, yeah, back then it would have been insane if I had that
100%.
kind of power to do it. But yeah, I think like you said, not really going to art school and kind of, yeah, I think it is important as an artist to sort of like try to learn things on your own, and then you kind of develop more of your own kind of, I guess, style. And then later on, if you want to kind of progress, you can go to these schools and like, get better. But yeah, I think schooling, I mean, because I never went to art school. I took like a art class and a life drawing art, class in like college, like just a
Yeah.
community college. I loved it. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't like a serious, like I'm going to make art as my career. I was much more of a, I guess, graphic designer seemed like more tangible for me, because it's kind of a combination of both. But yeah, definitely, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, at a certain point, not learning stuff or being kind of set in my own ways and being stubborn, I think did make me not progress as fast. So there is like a certain point, unless you are a absolute savant for some reason, there's a point where getting outside help and learning and absorbing yourself in the art community in general is going to make your art a lot better. And I definitely experienced that. So it's kind of a balancing act. There's some stuff you got to figure out on your own, but it doesn't need to be an isolated thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was like looking at your artwork, and it's hard to describe because you have a lot of styles that you kind of combine. I see a lot of like kind of 1970s, like Lord of the Rings kind of artwork in your stuff, but then you also have
100%.
kind of the 1950s pulp comics kind of look as well, and it's like a all combined together. And some, because I can draw, I can sort of paint, but I lack practice, so I'm kind of like not really good at it. But I can really tell that you've improved a lot. I mean, just from your pen work, your composition, all that stuff. So what? So your stuff is a lot of like just ink, black and white stuff. Is that like something that you're just a fan of, or is that something that you choose to do because it's your, I guess you're more comfortable using black and white more than color, or is it?
It's a little bit of both. I definitely want to do more color art, like, you know, as I keep going. Like, I don't want to just limit myself to only doing black and white and grayscale. I think for a long time, like early days of like the heavy art talk, and then but before it, I was kind of like trying to do too much. Like I was bouncing around a lot, and I didn't really like have a, in my opinion, I didn't have like a consistent voice. I was just trying to be good at a lot of things, which is also cool. But like, I just feel like if someone looked at my page and be like, I don't know what he's trying to achieve, like an artist statement. So then just like exposing myself to other artists, I realized, maybe I should just really focus on pen and ink for like a while. And that's like 2 years, and just get really, really good at that. So that's kind of been where I'm at the last 2 years. And it's what people like. And I also like doing it. And then I like doing like watercolor paintings as well. I've been doing like some like black and white watercolor paintings, which has a different look, but it's still in that kind of like monochromatic feel. So part of it is just being intentional about trying to have like a style that people can recognize. And I also happen to like it too, but I'm not putting any limits on like I only want to do this for a while. Like I'm pretty open minded with wanting to do color eventually.
Okay. So you have a regular job, like a 9 to 5
Yeah,
besides this. Is it art related, or is it just
not
something
at
completely
all.
different? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
actually going to ask you, is that because I know like when because I've always worked in graphic design, so it was always kind of creative, and then I came home and did my own stuff. But I know like the fact that you have to go to the office and make time to work on your own art, has that affected your creativity at all? Like, have you ever been at work and go like, man, I wish I could just do art full time? Or is it, do you like the kind of separation of having something that's like outside of artwork as your main income, and then you can kind of do this for fun?
I have bounced between the two. Funnily enough, the better I get at art, the more I like my current situation more, which is kind of counterintuitive. You'd expect it to be the other way. But when I was not quite as skilled, I maybe was just a little more overconfident in how good I am relative to like the talent in the industry. And I was like, all right, this is my plan. I'm going to go full time at this point. Now, society also has changed in the last 5 years a lot,
Oh yeah.
but I've just realized more and more that I like having the balance. Kind of comes back to that thing too of like me being like a fan and a collector, because I have like a standard full-time job that is in business in corporate America, right? It is work from home, so that helps with like not having to do the commute.
Okay.
But I, first of all, I like, if it was a shitty job, then I would be thinking differently. But I'm fortunate in the fact that it is a, you know, corporate job, but I don't absolutely hate it. I find joy in it. There's aspects that I like about it, and I think a lot of it is like just I'm around people. Whereas if you're an artist, yes, you can like message people online and like talk, but it's kind of an isolating profession. And the more self-aware I get as I get older, for me, I like having the balance of knowing that my bills are paid by my 9 to 5, and this is my place of like being able to take my time and create the illustrations that I want to, and take projects on that I want to, and decline ones that I don't. And I, at this point in time, like that balance. That could change. And a lot of it is like the quality of the job that you have. But for me, I've just realized more and more from talking with other artists that this is a very normal thing. And it should be just, it should be totally okay to be like, yeah, I take art seriously. And it's not just like some stupid little hobby, but I do have a 9 to 5 that basically pays the bills. And I take pride in that. I think that's a totally normal thing nowadays.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same case for bands now. Like
Yeah.
a lot of touring bands, they have day jobs, and then they like take like 2 months off of their work, and then you're like, all right, I'm going on tour for
Yeah.
2 months, and yeah, I mean I think there's no shame in just, I mean, especially with right now with the economy and just like AI and, you know,
Yeah.
am I going to have a job in like, you know, a few years? Like you just kind of survive is what you need to do at this point.
Yeah. That's also part of the equation in my head of like, you know, maybe this isn't that bad, you know, of what I'm doing now. So I can
Yeah,
relate.
yeah, because I'm sort of like I'm not much of a risk taker in terms of like, you know, I lost my job like 3 years ago, and while I was before I got my current gig, I was like, you know, trying to get more gigs, freelance stuff to kind of like, you know, get some money in, and the stress level was super high because it was like I'm relying on me pushing myself to contact people to say, hey, you want me to do some album artwork? Hey, you want me to do a logo? And it becomes less fun when you're like dependent on it. And I
Yeah.
kind of like having that side job to kind of like, you know, okay, if I don't have any jobs this month, I'm fine. I got, you know, I got money coming in on here. I'm cool. So yeah.
So I guess you and I are kind of in a similar boat then in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, cause my current job is sort of, I work for a music promoter, so I kind of like I'm involved in the music industry, but a
Cool.
different aspect of the industry. But it's creative enough where it's like it's fulfilling, but it's also it's teaching me a lot for my own artwork in terms of like I guess promoting my own stuff and doing all that stuff. So I think it's
Sweet.
working out. Okay, so I know you work, you know, just on traditionally. And you know, clients for me, like working digitally, you know, clients have a lot of changes, and I do have like, you know, when I write up a contract, I say, hey, you get 2 free revisions, and after that, it's going to cost you. And so, how do you, being a traditional artist, and you know, making changes isn't as easy as it is for me. How do you manage that? Like when you're working with like, say a picky client, say you spend, you know, 24 hours on this drawing or this painting, and you present it to them and they're like, oh, I hate it, or I want this change. Like what kind of protocols do you use to kind of like ensure that the changes will be minimal before you like get into it or to the final rendering?
Yeah. I mean, it can't always be avoided. I think I also like if I get the sense in communication that they're going to be kind of like that, and that people, if they're paying you, I get that they have the right to dictate to a certain degree what the image is going to look like. Like, so I respect that, but I also know that I don't have to take that project if I get the sense that they have like this very specific thing in mind, and it's like that's the only way of going about it. We just might not be the right fit. So I do try to like just establish communication early on. Like I get a feel for them and I explain my process. I'm doing it traditionally. I'll show you a thumbnail sketch. I'll show you the more detailed, like basically penciled in sketch. And then once it's in and if needed, I can even do like a value study so they can see like what it looked like beyond the line art. I think with those things in mind, you basically see what it's going to be, what it's going to look like. And I just explain throughout the process, like I can make like little changes here and there, but it is what it is, and that's kind of why you're going to me and not somebody else. So I think people know because I'm traditional, if they're attuned to it enough, that that's just going to be kind of the process. And then the other thing too is if I'm doing like pen and ink, I can scan it black and white, and then if they're doing coloring, then that's all digital if I'm doing it that method. So there's a lot of like flexibility there. So I think it's just communication and in my case, taking on projects where they give me a lot of creative liberty.
Yeah, I think yeah, because I watched your last interview with Pit Forge,
Yeah.
and he made a really good point, and he mentioned when a client has a bad idea or like presents and
Yeah.
you're not like stoked about it, you should let them know, because if you say, yeah, I can do that, and then you go like halfway and you're like, oh shit, I don't think that idea is going to work. And then you're kind of like, now I'm going to have to figure out how to do this, or I'm going to put out something that I'm not proud of, and I've actually done that before where I was like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Like, cause I was trying to like, please the client.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, my personality is like totally fine with like speaking up, not being like a, mean about it. But if I have a better idea, I'm going to present it. And then if they don't like that and there doesn't seem like any wiggle room, we'll just be like, yeah, I think maybe go to this person, or I just don't know if I'm going to be the right person. So like part of my strategy too is like just not, uh, I just try to be like as detached as possible in like the sales process, I guess you could say. And by me being so detached, I hope it in some ways disarms them so they know that I only have really the interest in the final product in mind, not egos of you or me. That's at least what I'm attempting to do. But
Yeah.
everyone has those nightmare experiences, and I just try to like learn from them from other people, really, because a lot of people have more experience than I do in it. When it comes to just sheer volume of projects they put out. I think one thing that's a disadvantage of being my situation of the full time is I just don't feel like I'm producing enough work. I feel like I'm just slow compared to other people because I'm methodical, but I also just because I'm not doing full time, I'm not racking up those hours. So that's the one thing I do miss of my current situation. I do wish I was producing more work.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I've looked through your profile. You have quite a bit of work. I think. I mean, like I used to myself. I used to create something like once a week, but now it's been kind of like I haven't been able to do that as much.
Right.
But I honestly, I don't think it's the volume. I think it's the quality of work, and I can definitely see that in your work. So I don't think that should be an issue for you. I mean, I think, dude, your shit's really good, man. Like
Oh,
I was
thank
like, just like I'm in awe, really, of like your skill, and
appreciate
but
it,
I
man.
think that's I think that's kind of you feeling like you're not good enough is kind of a normal thing, because I
Yeah.
obviously feel the same way, and I'm constantly self doubt is
Never
always
ends,
in my
man.
head, and
Like I think one thing that I see, I'm also not the type of illustrator who can do any kind of like rush work. Whereas I have friends who they don't like it, but they'll do it. So I have a lot of respect for artists who do it full time, and then the client's like, "Oh, I forgot I needed this. I need this done in a week." If I'm presented with that, I basically would just pitch it to one of my friends who can work at that pace because I can't. You know, I'd be producing stuff that's like half as good if I was doing that, and it's just not worth it for me at this point in time.
Yeah. Have you ever considered like not fully switching to digital, but just like learning, like getting a tablet and being able to kind of, I guess, ink in Photoshop so you can kind of, your, or would the turnaround be the same? Like, would you go through the same process through the computer as you would traditionally, or would it be quicker for you? I don't know.
There's certain aspects of digital that would definitely speed up the process. I'm doing more hand lettering and having a little bit of a digital part at first, like taking a font and then stretching it a bit and then like printing it out or something and then lightboarding it would be probably a little faster than what I'm doing now. Um, right now it's like literally like fucking 1940 style. You know what I mean? Which is cool, you know. But it is slow. Like, and I'm also doing like multiple drafts. The hand lettering stuff that I've been like starting to do more. God, it's humbling. That shit is so tough, man. I'm getting better at it, but I still have a long way to go. And then I guess one thing that when I see people doing like draw throughs and stuff, when they're like drawing a figure, and then I can just see them like basically move the arm up instead of having to erase it and then move it. That would be fucking faster. The inking itself, I think, would be about the same for me. I've also seen people that like they basically like duplicate a stroke, like a hatch. I think Pitforge was talking about it, and then he would basically like be able to like use one stroke as like three. I don't know if I really like that personally for my own stuff, but that would obviously speed things up. So there's definitely possibilities out there. I want to get better at digital for the coloring part because I like I said, I don't want to limit myself to doing just black and white. But I likely for the like next 5 years will be predominantly known as pen and ink artist, I imagine. Um, and I want to learn that better. And then just like the various little things to like make it more presentable. So there's like I need to learn like 10% more digital. I don't need to go like fully deep in though. That's my current perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something respectable about just having like real basic tools. Because I know, like there are artists out there that get really into the gear, or digital artists that get really into the gear. Like, I got to get my Cintiq, I got to get my,
Yeah.
my super powered PC, and yada yada yada. And it's
That's
like,
not me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even me, like I have a Mac Mini that I run like some 3D software that I use for my artwork, but I don't really go beyond that because it's just like I don't need to. It's like what, because once that gear breaks, you're like screwed. But for you, it's like you literally have a desk lamp and pen and paper, and that's it. That's all you need, and you can make your art.
I mean, I do get a little nerdy about traditional art tool and techniques. So it's like, okay, I'll look at a like an old Mobius illustration. I'm like, okay, did he use airbrush for here? And then is this a splatter effect? And did he use that like a toothbrush? Like I literally like think about the nerdisms of like how they accomplished it in the 70s, and then I try to do that. So like I guess I still do the gear stuff, but I just have no desire to do the tech stuff. But I need to get a little bit better at it. Just a little bit.
So, to kind of go off a different topic, what inspired you to do heavy art talk and like start a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Um, I've always wanted. I mean, obviously, I know the reason why you're actually part of the reason why I started this
Oh,
channel,
that's
but
awesome. Thank you.
obviously, you've been doing it for a little bit longer.
Yeah, yeah. So basically in COVID and stuff, and even before that, I kind of stumbled on like the record collecting scene in YouTube, specifically in the metal world. So there's like channels like Heavy Metallurgy, Brain Smasher, Gas Mask and Hand Grenades, and then these people all kind of know each other, and they were doing like live streams in COVID, and it was like very comforting to kind of like see that YouTube can be like a social platform if you design it that way. You make like a community or network. So then eventually I was like, you know what? I have a huge CD collection. I'm going to do some like album stuff. So my original intention with the YouTube channel was just to do record collecting. I collect CDs though, just to be specific. So I
Okay.
was just going to do like music reviews and like collection. So my first video was like 2022 top albums of the year. And then I did a little bit of album stuff and like music related content. And then I just, I think I was just one day I was like, it's like maybe I should just like interview another artist. And then I was already like messaging a little bit with Lucas Court, who was just so friendly, because I saw this album cover he did, and it like puzzled me in a cool way. I was like, how do you? And like, look, I know like as an artist, you always get the question like, oh, how do you come up with your ideas, right? But for this one, I
Yeah.
was like, legit, how did you come up with this idea? You know what I mean? Because it was so like kind of bonkers in a good way. So then he was just so nice and like wrote up like a whole thing and was just really friendly over DMs. And then I kind of like sat on that. I was like, I wonder if like other people are like this friendly. So originally it was just going to be one episode of doing an interview and like just seeing. And then Lucas was like super friendly and he was saying like, hey, you should try this for this person, this person, this person. I'm like, yeah, I think I could replicate this. So then I just started reaching out to people, kind of cold messaging them. At the beginning, Instagram didn't require the message requests. So everyone got the messages. Now it's like its own inbox. So
Oh yeah.
it's gotten just like a hair harder, just a little bit. But basically I just started cold messaging people and emailing people. And then I was like, all right, what pace can I try to keep this up at? Last year I was doing one episode a week, which this whole year it's been every other week, and that's been a lot more sustainable for me. But that's kind of what kicked it off, and then I pretty much ditched the idea of being a music channel and just being about an art and illustration channel. At first, I was like, oh, metal fans might be interested in these interviews, and then I realized from the view count and stuff, no, it's mostly just other artists interested. So I just kind of like, it's like, all right, well, we'll just nerd out about art then. I don't have to worry about entertaining the metal people as much. And yeah, some metal fans still watch and stuff, but it is mostly an art community that watches, from what I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, obviously, I'm kind of both. 'Cause I used to play music, and I'm retired, um, but
Same.
yeah, I think I'm surprised. Like, I think a lot more metalheads would be into art, but you never know. With the
Trying to change
YouTube, like,
that.
what is that?
I'm trying to change that.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, like you said, because yeah, even with me, it was just like a lot of the people that I've interviewed so far, I've kind of known them for like many years online.
Mm.
So I was super surprised how many people were like this cool, like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Like I didn't have to convince anybody. I was like, oh okay, because I'm not really anybody. I mean, I've been doing it for like over 20 years, but I'm just sort of I haven't done I don't have like a huge list of like big clients that I've done in the with my work. So I always feel like I'm a nobody just asking these amazing artists to like you know to interview them and stuff. But a lot of them are just been really cool and like surprisingly down to earth, and you're just like, damn, like. But like yeah, like you said, just like after you do one, you're just like, wait, this is kind of fun and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's early. It's like, all right, it's just how long can I keep doing this, And so far, so good. I think making decisions like, I don't have to do every week was smart, so I don't burn myself out. But yeah, dude, I get a lot more yeses than nos at this point, and even at the beginning. And I can totally relate with everything you're saying. I'm still very early in my career. I've worked with 5, 6, 7, 8 bands. I don't know, but it's not that many compared to a lot of other people in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I've had like I'm currently waiting to hear back from like a bigger band I'm really excited about, and they contacted me, and I sent them a draft, and the dude's in like England right now, like on vacation or something. So I'm like kind of like hoping he gets back to me, because it's not just
Yeah.
the money, it's they're on Metal Blade, and I'm like, okay, if I get this gig, I'll be like, maybe this will lead to more work.
Totally helps with the portfolio. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have done like years ago, I did some work for Chuck Billy. It was like
Oh,
this guy
cool.
contacted me, had a vaporizer company, like, and he had this custom like Chuck Billy brand vape machine or something. They needed some graphics on it, and oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna show it on this video here, but I was not happy with it. I like literally did it in like a day, and it was cool. I got paid and everything, but I was thinking, oh, Chuck Billy, Testament's gonna hit me up, and I'm gonna do some. This is it, man. My career is gonna skyrocket, and then it was just like nothing. It's like so.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's weird too, because it's like you'll have times of being very light on work, and it's just like doing personal stuff, but then all of a sudden it like picks up. It's like uh when it rains it pours, and then there's
Yeah.
like droughts, and like I find a lot of artists face that, especially this year. I've noticed it more and more when I'm talking with people. So I'm with you, man.
So what's the most challenging part about being an artist, and not in terms of like finding work, but just like I guess the like we talked earlier about the self-doubt, like
Yeah.
kind of because I know with me, like whether I'm getting paid or not, I always have to create, or if I don't create something, I get really bummed out. Like I just kind of I can't function. Like I have to like do
That's a
something
compulsion.
creative.
Yeah. Hmm. So what's the hardest part?
Or what's the most challenging aspect of being an artist? Is it like the not getting better, or is it just the constant self-doubt, or is
Mhm.
it not finding work, or is it
I guess yeah, it varies based on the person. For me, it's I have a desire to make every piece better than the last. And sometimes I can do that and sometimes I can't. And I kind of just get obsessive about like the quality of the piece that I'm working on relative to my other stuff instead of just letting it exist. Because that's, to a certain degree, it's all subjective, right? But I think I like measure that on my own. So there's just this insane drive and standard that I hold for my own work that I don't think it holds me back. I think it makes it better. It's just the fact that that's one of the other things that keeps me kind of slow to a certain degree compared to other people. Um, I don't know, man. I think if you just don't get out and like do some fitness and walk and talk to people, you can really go down like a whole spiral and like really think that you just are bad. So like I definitely suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes, but it's like I know how to remedy that because I've been here before. So every time I'm there, I'm like, okay, this is time to step away. Um, so I'd say imposter syndrome for me probably is the biggest one, but if I can keep it in check, it's also a motivator too. You know what I mean? It's like I don't see it as like having a little bit of imposter syndrome as a bad thing. Because otherwise it's like, okay, so you think you're hot shit. Well, what else you got to prove? I have a huge desire to prove my worth in my through my art. And that's sometimes gonna produce better work, but it's also like a little bit unhealthy too, like mentally. So I recognize that as well.
Yeah, I kind of because there are artists out there that are very they're not as like in their own head what they just produce stuff, and they're like on to the
Yeah.
next. Maybe it's all those people that kind of adopted AI stuff for all I know, but I
Maybe.
mean just yeah, I think it's like if you don't, yeah, like you said, if you don't have that struggle, like I suck, then how are you going to improve? Because if you think you're the best, then there's nowhere to go from there. It's like, oh yeah, I'm completely satisfied.
Totally. And like I think some aspects of my brain and how I talk is very much like most artists, but there's certain parts of how I think that I know are like definitely different. One of them being uh, just the fact that I have so much like corporate world experience, but also I was raised by an athletic family, a very competitive athletic family. Like all my brother and my sister were both college athletes and captains on their team.
Okay.
So I'm the guy who's like basically just an artist, but like that competitive drive that was part of my family's culture is instilled in me. So like I think like that. So art is subjective, but I believe in a little more objectivity than some other people who are artists do, which to me has helped me out, I think, in getting better. But it's like it's something that I believe that maybe other people don't, and that's totally fine. And what I mean by that is like I can look at two pieces of art and I can be like, objectively, I think this one's better. And yes, it's my subjective opinion on that objective, but me being able to like have clear, defined opinions on what makes something good also helps me know what isn't good. So my own work is pushed. You know what I mean? Like I don't hold, I have a standard because I have those kind of benchmarks. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with like, because I like a very of different art styles. Like I really like
Totally.
abstract art, and someone would look at that and say, "Oh, that art sucks. It's just like a bunch of paint and textures on a canvas." But I look at it as a no, no. Like, have you ever tried to do abstract art? It's like,
Right.
why is there more paint on this side of the canvas than this? And it's not balanced, and all this other stuff goes into it. But knowing, yeah, like you said, knowing what is good, what is not like well done is important because whether you're doing it yourself, like knowing that is important. Like, I mean, because I'm always working on my own stuff. Like, for me, making something dynamic has always been a challenge. I always make stuff that looks too static. And every time I make something, I'm like, I'm going to make this super dynamic. And then I end up going, nope, I'm going to make it completely like I try not to force it, because the more you force it, I feel like you go against your own like natural, just like, okay, maybe next time, maybe the
Yeah.
next piece I'll experiment and try to do something different. But for right now, I'm like, okay, I'll just leave it like this,
Well, I guess like I totally know what you mean. Like my methods for working on areas that other artists have that I don't would be to study them. That's another thing that I do a lot is a lot of people do like morning warm-ups and drawing and stuff like that. I do a lot of studies. So when I wake up, I have coffee, and this isn't every day. I'm not that disciplined, but it's pretty regular. But I'll grab a book, and I often study Frazetta. So I see you're a Frazetta fan as well. Obviously,
Oh
most of the
yeah.
people are, but for me, Frazetta is like a launching point into all these different directions you can go because he's kind of really good at a lot of things. I mean, to me, he's one of the best artists that ever lived.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't just study Frazetta, but I find that if I want to look at a dynamic figure, okay, I'll just have my book here and then I'll just basically do a study of it. I don't have to think about being creative or problem solving. All I need to do is figure out why this image is successful and where in my natural tendencies is Frazetta doing it better than I am, so I can see my own weaknesses. So like being very regimented and studying other artists that are like masters has also helped my work out a lot. And it focuses on that part of art that I think people in the general public forget about: craftsmanship. Yes, great art has to be creative and imaginative in most cases, but to achieve that, you got to have really good just the skills. So I basically silo out these different skills and I'm like really methodical about it. And then that helps when I'm actually coming up with my own concepts, which comes fairly naturally to me. It's all the pieces and all those little things like making a figure look dynamic and all that I've already kind of like studied. So that's what I'm saying. I break things down like it's a big puzzle. In a lot of
Yeah, I
cases.
mean, yeah, totally. I get that. Yeah, because it's that was another question I was actually going to ask. Kind of leads into it. Like what's the fine line between being inspired by an artist and just straight up copying an artist? Like, having like, I'm a fan of Frazetta, but then you kind of do your own thing, but then you have little elements of him, or there are people who just kind of copy him verbatim and go like, oh, that looks like a Frazetta. Like
Yeah,
what's the fine line between inspiration and just like straight up copying?
I think Yeah, and I think you get it, but just for the people watching and stuff, my studies are just for our practice. They're not representational of my work. So even if I'm studying for Zeta, I don't think my final work really looks that much like him, because it's a whole different exercise.
Oh yeah, no,
But
I wasn't getting at that at all. I was just more of just I think it just led into this question that I had.
oh yeah, no, no, cool. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
So it's just me being neurotic. So for me, it's like instead of picking one or two artists to copy from, pick 10. If you pick 10, then you kind of hedge your bets amongst all these different styles, and then your style is going to come out more naturally. So the biggest thing to me is like, if you're worried about being just an imitator of another artist, you just need to find more favorite artists, and then you need to change it up a little bit. And then your style will emerge as you interpret like 10, 15, 20 different artists that you love. So like another artist that I really like, but I don't think comes out in my final work that much is like Bill Sienkiewicz, because I
Oh
love his
yeah,
energy and I love how
yeah.
experimental he is. But if you look at my stuff, it doesn't really look like him. But I seek a lot of inspiration from him in terms of his composition, how he thinks, the energy, the gesture. Um, so I think it's every artist can make their own decisions. Like if you want to just be known as the Frazetta worship guy, I mean, way better than fucking AI art. So I'm not gonna. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? If you're gonna imitate anybody, imitate the best. So I don't really mind when people are like pretty close to their inspirations, especially if the inspirations are like 50 years old. I really don't care. That's totally fine. But ideally, you pick at least 10 favorite artists and you kind of juggle between all of them and pull different things. And then it's going to look a lot more unique to you.
I kind of I'm a big Bill Sienkiewicz fan, and I
I can
really
tell looking at your work. And like Dave McKean, you like him a
yeah,
lot?
yeah. Dave McKean's like, oh,
I
the
see, I can see
god.
it a little bit. That's cool.
And even I don't know if you know Travis Smith.
Yeah,
He did all like an Opus and Catatonia stuff.
totally.
I'm friends with him, but yeah, he was the guy that I think it was Nevermore's Dead Heart in a Dead World album art. I was like, when I saw that, like God, when I came out 25 years ago, I was like, how the hell did he was pretty much that was like the turning point of where I was like, okay, I think I want to do this. I want to learn Photoshop. I want to like learn how he did this.
Yeah,
But he's very much influenced by Dave McKean and all that stuff, and I really like that kind of style. It's just very like abstract at some points, and then very like very clean and sort of like to the point on others, and I kind of like that. I like art when you're allowed to do something off the wall and then go back to something else. And I think that's important to
100%.
sort of have multiple styles that you kind of play around with. It keeps things interesting, and you're not so like it's kind of like I love Alex Ross. I love his work,
Totally.
but he's definitely pigeonholed. Like when you see Alex Ross, like, oh, that's Alex Ross, but it's kind of all the same. But then you look at Bill Sienkiewicz's work, and it's like, I don't know if that's Bill Sienkiewicz or that's Dave McKean or if that's this other artist, because it's like he'll just do some different shit every once in a while, and you're like, wow, like that's really creative and unique and cool. And then it's you don't know who it is. I don't know if that's good, to get to promote yourself, but I think it's good to kind of change things up.
Totally, man. Yeah, I find endless inspiration with Bill's work for sure. Um, I think my biggest inspirations are Bill Sienkiewicz is up there, but outside and then comics as well. So comic influences Bill Sienkiewicz, Bernie Wrightson, and Alex Nino. He's a Filipino artist.
Okay.
He's getting up there in age right now, but I think he's one of the most dynamic, like just action and like shape design kind of like comic artists out there. I'm lucky enough to have a couple originals of his that are like more sketchy, but
Oh,
he's a
nice.
huge inspiration. And then just like broader, it really expands out a ton, to like just about anything. But the comics, especially in the last couple of years, have become more and more inspirational to me. Prior to that, and it still is, but like tattoo art is kind of in my DNA as well. I've always really been drawn to that. So the sense of like design, boldness, simplicity, but then also like being able to make like different kind of decisions around common motifs. That's always been pretty up there for me as well.
Yeah, because I can definitely see your work as like a tattoo. Like it's already pretty much laid out a way a tattoo. I think it was like Shindy. You interviewed him. He does tattoos now, but his stuff translates so well to like the skin. It's like insane.
Yeah,
Like all of his little details and all that stuff.
absolutely.
Okay, so AI. I mean, AI is like in everything. It's in art. It's in music. What do you predict the art community is going to look like in the next, like, say, 5 years?
I think a lot of that comes down to the general public realizing what's at stake if it takes over more, and basically corporations and brands and people who are trying to be tight on money basically make cuts. So I think if there's enough vocal outcry from the people who consume it, not just the people who create it, then I think we can hold it at bay, and it'll just be something that people who are just doing little bedroom projects of film, music, or whatever use. Um, what really is the big threat is when it starts being common in major label releases, when it's common in movie production and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think AI art has improved, and by improved I just mean like I've seen it do things that I hadn't seen previously, like the year before. I hate it. Just so we're clear, I wish it never existed. But
Yeah.
but you know, I see it as an enemy of sorts, and I like to understand it and understand where it is in like the larger scheme of things. I think AI art's gotten more versatile. Like it's able to do like comic stuff now, whereas previously it was like this hyper detailed, glossy stuff, which you still see all the time. Um, but basically, I think it's not going anywhere. There currently is a lawsuit by Disney to Midjourney. I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out because while I don't like Disney as a corporation, they got the lawyers and the money to back up a legal fight against, Midjourney, and that'll set a precedent of copyrighted material. Because
Yeah.
if the AI models can't use copyrighted material, it's like the Achilles heel. It will kill like what it can do in a lot of ways. Um, so I think artists who are digital, I think there's going to be more of a trend for them to do traditional and digital. I think that's just going to be more and more common. Not for everybody, of course, but I see it a little bit more now with like concept artists. I see them do stuff digitally and then on paper to promote their work. Um, I don't know. I think, yeah, a lot of it comes to like how much fight we're going to have over the things that we cherish. Like, does the general public not care, or do they care? That's really going to dictate, I think, where it goes, because artists, 95% of them don't like it, from what I can tell. And that is a strong voice, but the dollar is really what's going to dictate where it goes, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have those very concerning periods, but then I also there's like days where I'm like, because I've dabbled in it because I know Photoshop has a built-in
Yeah.
AI kind of thing now. I do use it for my day job to like extend photos to fit certain things, which
Yeah.
I think that's completely fine because it's just like it takes away that tedious task of trying to
It's a
like mask
tool. It
everything.
truly is a tool. It's advertised as
Exactly.
a tool. That is a tool.
Yeah,
Yes. I
and
agree.
yeah, it's not just like whipping out some artwork and it's like there it is, there's the artwork. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest flaw right now is that it could create something that looks really good or to the average viewer looks good,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be those, like, I mean, you've dealt with clients, so like how picky they are. So it's like you present them with an AI artwork. It's like, well, I don't like his hands, or I don't like the helmet he's wearing. Can we change that? And then like the AI is like, oh shit, well, I'm going to have to like re-prompt this thing, and it's going to look completely different. Or I mean, I'm
So
assuming
5 years from now, I think the models will be smart enough that that can be done. You know, that's the thing. Is
yeah.
like the level of improvement in AI 5 years from now is hard to even imagine. I'm thinking more of like, does society value human art? That to me is the question. Because if nothing else changes, the models, both in video, art, text, everything, are going to get so much better in 5 years. I'm like a whole AI doomer dude, so you don't want to go too far on it. Because while I am concerned about AI art, I'm actually this year especially way more concerned about overall societal impact.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think art is a very small fracture because like
Yeah.
they're predicting like a lot of just like entry level jobs are going to be like eliminated, not just in the art fields, but
Oh,
just like in
everywhere.
general.
Yeah,
And
100%. It's
that's
happening already.
yeah, and that's more concerning than I mean, even though I'm an artist and I rely on selling my art, like I'm just thinking about everybody else because like if society doesn't succeed, you don't succeed. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
everything else
100%.
falls apart, so if
Yeah.
you're like I'm on my own, I'm gonna do I'm a selfish person, then you're like yeah, you can't think that way. You got to think of like I want everybody to like have income and be good economically.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't use AI at all. I don't know how to use it because I'm like pretty much digitally blind when it comes to art. But I am very interested in like watching YouTube videos about I don't want to go down a giant rabbit hole, but basically there's these things called AI alignment experts. So what their job is basically to design the AIs to make ethical decisions. Not like, of course, generative AI in itself is unethical because it's using copyright material. Putting that aside, I'm just saying like they're the ones who are designing the models to basically have, when you ask it a question, answer it a certain way. And however those are skewed is going to then change the next generation of the AI release that is developed, and then the next one, the next one. So basically, it'll compound because eventually AIs will train other AIs, and then you basically can have a whole breach in terms of if they actually value human beings as much, because we could get farther down the generation of it. That's a whole thing, but that's like where my mind has gone the last couple months in this research it's looking at it on a macroeconomic perspective. When it comes to the art stuff, I was way more fixated on it last year than this year. Now I find it annoying, and I'm gonna have a video out on my channel soon. Maybe it's already after this one, but I find it more annoying than anything right now, irritating. But the larger perspective on AI and stuff, I think if we don't make changes, it's just gonna make the billionaires more rich and more powerful very quickly. So
Yeah,
that's
I
my
mean, 'cause
rant.
oh no worries, dude. Rant away. Yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's almost like self cannibalizing. Like it's already happening with like the AI artwork, like how the AI artwork was trained on
Yeah.
IP and all this, and then now it's like getting trained on the shitty AI artwork. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The thing where it's like, hey, can you replicate this image and then replicate it again? Have you seen that? Where it's like it takes an image and you're like, all right, can you make a copy of this and make a copy of that and a copy of that and a copy of that, and all of a sudden it becomes like Picasso. It's kind of interesting to see because there's like a little time lapse of it. But yeah, it basically destroys itself over time if it's fed, over and over again.
yeah,
It's disturbing and fascinating.
yeah, then you hear about all the like the environmental impacts it has to how much water it uses to power all these
Yeah.
centers that like render all this crap. So because my older brother actually works at Google. He's
Yeah.
like he's a higher up, but like we went out to dinner a few months ago and he was just like busting out his phone. He's just like asking like the AI like what's the best wine to like. It's like, really, dude? Like what? Like why do you need to ask? Like it was just a stupid like you don't need
I
it
know.
to figure out what you're gonna drink or.
Yeah. The best life hack is remembering to use your fucking brain. That's my thing. Everyone's trying to do all these little life hacks with it. It's like at a certain point, it's like just put it away and just like make sure you're using that brain that you have there. One thing I've been doing this year, and I think it actually has made my art better. It is, I mean, it's gonna sound stupid as shit. I'm reading again. I'm reading books. I haven't read books really actively in the last couple of years, and I'm realizing how difficult it is. It's actually very difficult to read a book with everything going on, all these distractions. It's like really a good test. It's like exercising that muscle of, delayed gratification
Yeah.
and focus. And then when I'm reading, there's all those mental images that go, and then that helps me out as an illustrator. It's like, okay, if I was tasked with illustrating this book, what scene would I want to capture? So it's like helping me out with like the compositional stuff. But man, reading is a lot harder than I remember. And I think it's because our brains have changed. And I'm like recognizing that in myself and being honest with myself on the level of these things.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely I'm the same way. Like I have my phone right here because I clock in. I use my phone to clock in and out of work.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm between a job, I'm like, I'll like go on Instagram or I'll go on like TikTok or something. Just out of habit after between every little thing. And sometimes I'll just be like, dude, like I'm so like tired of doing that. And
Happy to
yeah, you're
everybody.
right. I mean, luckily, like I have a son. He's 11, and he's actually pretty like. We actually asked him if he wanted a phone. Like, do you want like a phone just so you can kind of like? He's like, no, I don't want a phone. Like, I don't want to like because he notices other friends of his like just being
Yeah.
sucked into their phone, and like I'm like proud of him because he's like, dude, he's like his own person. He's like he knows like the issues, and that's good. And I'm the same way. Like when we're out in public, out of the restaurant, I don't even take my phone out unless I'm going to take a photo or something. But I see so many people just out in public, just on their phones constantly, just like like your wife or your girlfriend or whatever is right in front of you, and you're just like, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, man. Like, I have a lot of comic books like that I haven't even read. Like, I want to read them, but it's just like you said, it's like I can read like maybe 3 pages, and then like, oh, okay, I'll put the bookmark in here, and like I'll read it
Here's
later, and I never go back to it.
it's been humbling how I've also been reading books that are a little bit harder to read than, growing up and stuff, but still it's like reading is rewarding, but it is difficult. It's you have to be very active with it. You could even movies, it's like you can actively watch a movie or you can just passively. But books, you're either reading or you're not. The words are coming in and making mental images or they're not. So that's been something I've incorporated this year that I'm happy with myself to do.
Yeah, that's good because like my mom's a huge avid reader, and like I've read some pretty big books like when I was younger, like a lot of Ray Bradbury, like the Jurassic Park novel and the
Mm.
Lost World novel are like so much better than the movies. It's like crazy how
And Michael
it's like you
Crichton.
think like how can a book be better than a movie, but then you actually start reading it and you're like, dude, this is like books are still pretty amazing if you think about it. Just like the visuals just come to your head and you can just it's
It's a
pretty
beautiful
crazy.
thing.
Okay, so I know you're like a metalhead, and how much of it influences is like heavy metal music to your artwork? Would you say it's like 90%, 50%, or is it just your artwork kind of just happens to be kind of a heavy metal esque style?
I don't know. I mean, I really thought about it that way, I guess. I mean, I think there's some people that it's like I make art for metal, whereas I think it's more like I like fantasy and sci-fi and dark imagery, and that happens to work for metal. I think about
Yeah,
it more like that, especially because, yeah, I think it goes hand in hand though. Like I've been obsessed with metal since I was like 11, so it's like it's part of my upbringing, it's part of my DNA, it's part of what I think is cool. So I'm just gonna want
yeah.
to draw shit that's cool. And there's plenty of cool imagery on the album covers. So I think it's just so baked in there. But I don't like explicitly study people who work in metal or do album covers as much as I study like um people who do stuff for like old paperback book covers or comics or things like that. Um I just find a little more inspiration with that nowadays. And I guess I'm trying not to feed too much from the source.
Yeah, I kind of I like, obviously I've always loved horror movies growing up as a kid.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't say my stuff is like Cannibal Corpse or anything, but it is on the darker variety. But I feel like darker art taps into everybody some way or the other. Like that dark side is always kind of a because everybody's bummed out, everybody gets depressed,
Right.
and when I make art, it's kind of a reflection of that sometimes, like how I'm feeling or whatever. But if that happens to be heavily involved in kind of a heavier music, then that works out for me. But like you said, yeah, I don't intentionally make something like, oh, this would be a great artwork for death metal band or something. It's more of just like, if I happen to produce something that's kind of of the death metal variety, then that's cool. But it wasn't my intention. It was more of just like, oh, I watched this movie and I got inspired by something and did that.
Yeah. I mean, I do a little bit of that too. It's like, oh, this would be a good shirt design for this genre. Like I could like task myself with that, but a lot of times my brain gets ahead of me in terms of getting excited about a certain idea before I put the box in front of it. But when I have a commission, then it's like, okay, yeah, this is the box. It's still a lot of room to breathe, but I'll go within this box and this task. I mean, a lot of times, man, I listen to metal 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, I'm listening to all other genres. I'm definitely like a music fan who likes metal, not like just a metalhead. There's some people it's like they only listen to metal. That's not me. I listen to, I listen to like Neil Young, Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah,
I do
yeah.
listen to a lot of like classic rock, indie rock, classical stuff, ambient. I mean, David Bowie. I don't know. I'm listening to stuff all over the map, and when I'm drawing, even if I'm drawing something that's really dark and whatever, there could be you know Dead playing. You know what I mean? It's just like a jam band. So it's like I just need something that's gonna get me in the zone. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm a partial poser for sure. Like
No, I
that's
honestly, the older I get, because like when I was growing up, I was heavy into like just I like Deicide and Cannibal Corpse and
yeah.
all the heavier stuff. But as I get older, I'm like, I try, like, you have to be in that certain like mindset to really want to listen to it, because I just tend to listen to more like if it's not this 80s kind of 80s stuff like The Cure.
Oh yeah, love
um
Cure.
you really have to like those, like you can just put on like when I just want to like chill out and work on some
Right.
stuff. But when you're like, damn, I'm angry, I want to listen to some like heavy shit, let's put on some Cannibal Corpse. But it's like, even after that, you're like, this doesn't hit as much as it did when I was like 20. It's like, I
In
don't
some
know.
ways, yeah. Well, like what I do a lot of times that's just nuts, but I just do it is I'll go between extremes. So, dude, like on a playlist, I could have I really like brutal death metal, so I could go like Cryptopsy, and then the next like two songs after Cryptopsy, I want to listen to like Enya, and I want to like have the most extreme to the most soft, and then I feel it more. You know what I mean? These contrasts. So like yeah, my playlists are just like jacked up, man. So but yeah, I mean really brutal shit. Especially when I'm like lifting at the gym, definitely hardcore and death metal. That's all I'm playing there. And then when I'm driving, I like to listen to metal. But when I'm drawn and I want to like take my time and be like in a zone, uh unless it's like black metal, I'm usually listening to like pretty chill stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I because I have free reign to listen to whatever I want all day, every day. So once you have that ability, you almost like, let's check out this Steely Dan album here, because I love like kind of that jazz fusion stuff. I love instrumental music, like
Oh,
kind of
love it,
like
man.
proggy, kind of, it's just very like soothing to me. And like obviously,
Totally.
like I'm a big prog head too, like Rush and Yes and all those bands, whatever. But yeah, it's just, you get kind of, yeah, you just want to change it up, because it's like because you can listen to whatever you want, and you want to you get kind of tired of listening to the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
All right. So
The tables have turned, people.
Yeah, well, this is
I'm kidding.
this is simple. All right. Yes, King Crimson, Genesis, Gentle Giant. How would you rank those four for your own personal taste?
You know, I'm going to be completely frank. I only know like songs of theirs. I've not really like. I would probably do Genesis because that's the band that I've listened to more than the others.
Yeah.
Because you got
You could
Peter
put Rush in
Gabriel.
there if one of those doesn't. If you don't know as much about the catalog, you could add Rush and swap one out.
Okay, so ask that again.
So all right, so you're just pick four: Rush, King Crimson, Genesis, yes. And then I said Gentle Giant, but I don't know if you're as familiar with their material.
No, not really, but
Okay, so we'll throw them out for the sake of the exercise.
Okay.
How would you rank those?
Rush
In your own
definitely.
personal taste, you know. Okay, Rush.
Rush definitely number one. Rush is like one of my favorite bands like ever. I mean, beyond the genre. And then I would say Genesis and then King Crimson, just because I've only heard a few King Crimson songs, and I've heard maybe one of Genesis albums which I liked, but yeah. Now you're gonna make me listen to Genesis and King Crimson.
Oh, there's so much good shit, man. Oh, I
I
love
know,
the 70s prog stuff.
No, there is a lot of good stuff. It's just like, you want to like just start listening to it on your own. Like I want to like start listening to this right now, like because there's so many bands that I haven't listened to that I haven't got around to it that I want to, but you just have to feel it, like I want to listen to this band now. And
I'm gonna make you listen to Genesis at gunpoint, dude. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, what was the Genesis album my buddy at work used to listen to? Is like something Penny None the Richer or something, or it was forgot the title. It was some super long album title.
Selling England by the Pound.
Yes, Selling England by the Pound. That's a really good album.
Oh, totally.
I really like that one. Yeah. But yeah, I'm all into that. Like, yes is probably, and then Pink Floyd, of course.
Yes, huge Pink.
Yes,
Floyd.
I actually saw Yes live, like 2012, and they were freaking awesome, man.
Oh, that's great.
They played Close to the Edge, Going for the One, and I think Fragile in their entirety. Like it was awesome.
yeah, that sounds amazing.
All right, man. Last question. I always ask all my guests this. Like, what's your dream project? If you can work on any kind of project, what would be your favorite? Or
I mean it's kind of loaded, and you know it is, but I would say I'm a fan of on YouTube that I really think he's a funny guy, and I like what he's doing is Meat Canyon. I would love to do like a shirt for Papa Meat. I would love to just do something kind of low risk and fun for him because I think he's a really funny guy, and I like that he's a metalhead. And I feel like it's not like something that's so lofty and big. It would just be like something that's like I'm doing it for somebody who's a fan of metal, who I happen to think is like a funny and cool dude. So like that's kind of like short term, like a project that I think would be really fun.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, like do a project for Metallica or something. It's like, yeah, sometimes just doing something kind of fun and cool is enough, Well,
like when you go with those big bands and stuff, it's like through an agency and it's a whole thing. It doesn't feel as like we're in it together. Whereas I feel like, and I'm guessing here, but I feel like it was with him, he's just a guy who happens to be really funny and he's also very popular too. But he shows his personality in his videos, and it would just be cool to like do something for that person. That would feel rewarding because I know the person on the end of this on the side. With like a big band, it's like I don't know if James Hetfield gives a shit if I did a poster for him. Like, would I do it? 100%, but it doesn't feel as fulfilling maybe as people might think because I don't feel like the band might care as much. Not that they need to, but there's like that aspect of like people really like appreciating what you're providing them that I really like. You know, I think that's why I did pet portraits for so long, because people love to see, you know, the portraits that they get of the pets that they love so much. And like I don't mind doing it. I don't do it anymore, but I love that feeling of giving it to them and making them so happy. You know, that just felt really cool.
Yeah, I think maybe if James Hetfield needed like a personal commission, like, hey, can you paint my dog? Then it'd be different, I guess. It'd be like, oh, hey, I'm doing something outside
Yeah.
of the realm, and I know he'll.
I think I'd actually rather do that than Metallica poster. I'd rather do a pet portrait for James Hetfield than a Metallica poster.
Yeah, honestly, like I've kind of like learned that just like because I live in the Bay or close to the Bay Area in
Oh, cool.
California, so like I know a lot of people who know Metallica who like know those guys personally, and it's just like yeah, it's just the same old like you know you do something for a big project that's like it's the same story. It's like you're gonna get difficult. They're gonna be difficult with you sometimes, and they're gonna be you know everybody's gonna be like throwing in their 2 cents to do change. You're just like damn it, why did I like get excited about doing this? Now I'm like
Yeah.
now I'm ruined. These guys have ruined the like don't meet your idol type thing. You know. Like,
Yeah. I think that's part of it for sure, man.
all right, dude. Well, thanks again, Lee, for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it, man. You know, I'm gonna leave a link to all your stuff below the video, and you know, be sure to check out Heavy Art Talk. Great channel, lots of interviews with amazing artists. I'm probably gonna pick a few more artists from your who you've already interviewed and just ask them.
Feel free, man. More the merrier.
But yeah, man. You know, I'm glad I got to finally you know kind of meet you. You know, via internet. It's you're really cool, and yeah, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, appreciate it, Kieran.